We wrap up this week's hour with another Park City Productions 06604 travel segment. It's the third in a trilogy of vignettes focused on the beautiful Southwest. Today we introduce you to Gail Riley and her husband Tom Statzell, the owner-operators of the Highland Haven Creekside Inn, just a stone's throw from the famous Red Rocks Amphitheater in Evergreen, Colorado. It's a family affair at the Highland Haven Creekside Inn. This is in Evergreen, Colorado, and you may not be familiar with Evergreen, but after this conversation, you're going to want to visit there. The wonders of Google, Gail. I Googled what would be in the area of the Red Rocks Amphitheater that would be a comfortable and enjoyable place to spend a couple of days, and guess what came up?
Well, I should think we would.
www.highlandhaven.com. Gail, welcome. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up running and owning this enviable property.
Well, I'd be delighted to, and I'll tell you now, it's quite a little odyssey, but I'll do my best to shrink it all. My husband and I grew up in Indiana. We were Purdue graduates, and after graduation, we set off for San Francisco. We were exposed to that wonderful big city, but it soon became someplace we knew we would elect not to raise a family and more likely couldn't afford to. So we vacationed in Colorado at the Highland Haven, specifically this inn, which at that time was a motel. Humble, modest, not quite falling apart, but certainly not prime. We fell in love with the blue sky and the rock outcroppings, and the property here is set on a meandering, beautiful creek called Bear Creek, and there's 100-foot blue spruce in the front lawn, and it's majestic. But we had no money, but we asked the owner to let us know if he ever went to sell, which I can't help but laugh every time I recall that, because I think we had maybe $1,500 to our name. But anyway, we went into debt. We found a sort of renegade mortgage company and bought it in 1979 with partners that we soon bought out. And it was difficult and challenging. We had the husbands worked out of the property. We started raising families. So there were a lot of bumps on the road to get to 36 years later, where it really is a perfect gem of a Colorado inn.
36 years later, here we are talking about Highland Haven Creekside Inn. Now, for folks who maybe have visited Denver but aren't familiar with what's just, you're a little bit south of Denver?
No, we're due west. If you landed in Denver, we'd be 1 hour from the airport, 30 minutes from Denver proper, and it's right into the foothills before you get to over the pass, which is when you'd go to Breckenridge, Vail, Aspen. So we're at 7,000 feet, and we're the prettiest place Evergreen is west of Denver. We have a jewel of a lake that now has paddle boats and sailboats, canoes. It ices over for skating in the winter. There's a rather rustic little downtown, a high-quality spa, winery. So it's becoming more and more desirable all the time because of its beauty. It's a wonderful philanthropic art community. People do commute easily to Denver, and it's not having to go over the pass to get to the high country, which the traffic now has turned into quite a problem because Colorado's just popular and Denver's exploding. So Evergreen stays, although we're growing a little more than locals ever like it, but it's so desirable on so many levels. Great schools. The hiking here is beyond anything else in Colorado. We have more Jefferson County open space. It's physically and emotionally a very special community.
You know, Gail, just earlier this week, news broke that the population here in Fairfield County, Connecticut, is dwindling. Perhaps people are going out west. Perhaps they're going to Evergreen or Denver.
I don't know. They wouldn't be coming to Evergreen. This morning I already talked to 2 different guests that closed on houses yesterday. So people come here mostly for romantic celebrations. Just sat with a couple that was married 1 week. We had a proposal last night. We had another anniversary, and we have a corporate group. So we have this wonderful cosmopolitan kind of reason they come here.
36 years ago, when you moved there, did you foresee this?
Oh, absolutely. We didn't foresee the next week. we struggled so much. Evergreen was completely seasonal. If the doorbell rang in February, which is the old motel style where they rang a bell and we came running, it was surprising. We had business only in the holidays and the winter, but a really good summer that we saved all winter just to get through it. But no, Evergreen was still as pretty as it is now, but it wasn't as close as it feels now. And it's an upper Mobile community. You know, it's I think the average house here is maybe $500,000 now. But no, we were just trying to make the mortgage payments.
It's an inspirational story, and I'm encouraged to hear more of this. 2 weeks ago we talked to the folks at the Los Poblanos lavender farm. The Remby family turned a lavender farm into a bustling inn and a chic boutique, and it sounds like you've done the same. Tell us more about what folks will see when they drive through and they get out of the hustle and bustle of Denver and get to your property. You mentioned some of the sculptures.
Well, I have always been involved in a number of community boards here, and our sculpture Evergreen is the one that I worked on the longest. So now we have every year a juried selection of 16 to 18 sculptures that we place in the Evergreen area, and we raise money for permanent pieces. So we're pretty heavy in sculpture. In fact, there's a beautiful white marble piece of a couple that are in an embrace called Intimacy that's on the kind of cantilevered almost over our creek. So the sculptures everywhere here are quite remarkable and really high quality. In fact, tomorrow as well, we'll be changing 18 pieces out that were in the last year's sculpture walk for 18 new ones.
You mentioned earlier that when you first got there, you'd suffer through the winters. This is now a 4-season type of establishment?
It is. In fact, we had a powerful storm maybe 3 weeks ago, snowstorm, and we probably had 18 inches of snow, and the people got married on that Saturday outside. I mean, the weather is not as big. Growing up in Indiana, if we got snow, it stayed on the ground. If you get snow here, because of the sun and the proficiency of the snow removal, the snow is very seldom a deterrent. It's just magnificently pretty when it snows around here, and it clings to the trees. And we're ready for it to be gone now because it's time to get all our flowers in the ground. But no, we're year-round. We just turn away more people in the summer months and have developed a corporate that kind of fills in the seasons, too. But we're still not that hard to get to.
Gail Riley, tell us about some of the area attractions. I mean, what's bringing me out west, and specifically to your location, is Red Rocks. You are in an advantageous position. You got a lot around you.
Red Rocks is, if any of your listeners don't know, is a magnificent amphitheater that's in a little funky, cute town called Morrison, and it is rocks, massive rocks, and the acoustics are perfection, and the bands always prefer to play there over most anywhere. It's about an 11-mile, real pretty, windy drive down a canyon from Highland Haven to Red Rocks, so we're pretty close. The venues will cover any musician you like. They probably have played there or going to play there, or they're scheduled this season. They also do, Red Rocks is a huge draw for people that work out. There's aerobics classes and yoga classes, and people jump the steps 3 at a time, and our children graduated there from high school. It's just, it's a magnificent natural formation that was added on to. But in addition to Red Rocks, we have, again, I mentioned Mount Evans is the 14,000 highest peak you see here. And you can drive up to Soda Creek and Mount Evans and get a dizzying view and seeing the Front Range without going all the way up over what we call the pass. In our small community, the nature is the biggest draw, of course. I mean, the lake, the creek, there's world-class fly fishing. I think hiking is probably the things that the majority of people will hike more than anything else. And just up our road to the east and the west. There's open space with difficult or just taking a stroll kind of hiking, but just anything that gets you outdoors around here, and this climate and this landscape induces outdoor activity. We also have some very good, unique restaurants. There's a wonderful spa, Tallgrass, that the owner's my best friend. She's Gail, too, so we do a lot of hand-holding, and I would love to be out there all the time, and I'm not. But a lot of our guests come and do a spa treatment. We have the fly fishing is on the South Platte River. That is beautiful, and there's guides that are available and ready and willing in Evergreen. We have a wonderful concert series. There's a golf course that wraps around the lake. There's also High One Golf Course that used to have the Colorado Open. So summer, they have to sometimes hit through elk that are on the courses. We have a lot of wildlife. It's not unusual for elk and deer both to be strolling or really taking over the property in a herd. And they're beautiful. There's something to see. We haven't had a bear yet, but we usually have a bear or two. But, just the biggest draws are anything outside. Anything and everything outside.
I suspect this is going to be very enticing to our listeners. The website for them to learn more or to book. And how long of a trip should we set aside if we're going to visit Evergreen, if we're going to visit Highland Haven Creekside Inn?
Well, usually the stinker and the booking part are not. It's a good stinker for us is weddings. People plan those so far out. So we have venues, in fact, a big one on the lake, so people will book a lot of rooms all summer long on weekends. And we also get corporate groups who will book the whole place. But in general, a couple months is not unreasonable, and we certainly always have weekends where we fill in at the end. So it's not like you have to book way, way out. If it's specific to a July Saturday, it might be a problem.
Gail Riley and her husband, Tom Statzell, have an estimable property, and I encourage people to at least check the website out. I think you're going to be intrigued. Gail, tell us again the website, phone numbers, any other information you'd like us to have.
The website is Highland, HIGHLAND, Haven.com. The phone number is 303-674-3577. The most wonderful staff. You tell us what you would like to do. If you're a gluten-free diet, if you're celebrating, if you want to do something special, we do romance trays with champagne. We do brewski packages. We have a lot of amenities that we customize to whatever the occasion is, and concierge that will help with any hiking. Anything you want to do, we are here to really be as helpful and welcoming as possible.
We thank you for tuning in once again this week for a sample of some of the quality radio programs that are brought to you exclusively by Bridgeport, Connecticut-based Park City Productions. Learn more by liking us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or follow us on Instagram. Or you can email us, as always, at parkcityproductions06604@gmail.com. That's parkcityproductions06604@gmail.com. Have a great Memorial Day. Thanks for listening. I'm John Ionews.